get the pinned comment in order. Write down the old timestamps. Where the hell is my notepad? My timestamps notepad. Did I not have my timestamps notepad? Where are my other notepads? Ah, here it is. My timestamps notepad. I got all my snacks. I got my snacks. Got my snacks. Got my snacks. I got my snacks. I got my snacks. I got my snacks. My snacks. I need my snacks. If I don't have my snacks, it's going to be a problem. If I don't have my snacks, it's going to be a problem. So I got my snacks. Intro. Yo. What's going on? Sent it. Now where is the main thingy? Where's the pinned comment? Alrighty, here we go. Okay, cool. Thank you. Hey Beans, I'm getting my pinned comment and my notes together. Yo, everybody drop the house you have Aries in. We're gonna be talking about it soon. Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's the first time live in a while. I got my notes. I'm gonna be going for a little bit, so I have my that's funny. Yeah, I know, that was funny. Alright, here we go. Let me pin this comment. Pin message. I want to see what the lag is. Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about the full moon in Aries on October 6th, peaking in 14 degrees and 8 minutes, angling the fixed star Alpheratz, which is the head of the Andromeda constellation. So let me finish writing down my little timestamps, and then we will get started. Okay. So we got this full moon, fixed star, and then we're going to do the shadow and the remedies. and then the all signs reading, of course. So everybody drop the house you have Aries in, drop your rising sign, and we will be doing a reading on that shortly. Oh, I do a lot of astrology content. If you're curious about the specifics of what we're talking about today, you can click up here and check the description, and that will give you a pretty deep rundown on what it is about. And then I'm about to explain it shortly. Okay. What's the time? Hello, I'm doing well, thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm familiar with numerology. I live in the States. I do apply numerology, but I have more of a knowledge base in astrology. Okay, so the full moon. 4 is about like hard work and like family life. It's similar to Cancer and whatnot. But yeah, guys. So the full moon in Aries is peaking on the 10th, or not the 10th. I'm sorry, I got the dates backwards. The 6th of October, and it's peaking at around 11:57 p.m. Eastern time. And essentially, what that is it's kind of like the evening between the 6th and the 7th, so it's kind of like a split date. And essentially what we have going on right here is it's in 14 degrees of Aries, so it's like smack in the middle in the second decan of Aries. Yeah, it's 4 is similar to Cancer, being that 4 is correlated to the 4th house sign, which is Cancer, which is all about home, family life, hard work, and creating boundaries for people. But yeah, anyways, the full moon in Aries is interesting because it angers the fixed star Alpheratz, which we'll go into more detail about, of where it's kind of pushing you towards an energy of like unapologetic independence that still plays well with others, right? So it's freedom that doesn't necessarily burn a bridge. Essentially what that is an opportunity to an opportunity to really recognize that like you can't, it's kind of like you have it all type of energy. It's like you can have it all if you just learn how to set boundaries and you learn how to create these opportunities and you learn how to essentially open up in such a way that is not hindered by the depths of you just feeling stressed out because you didn't do something because you thought somebody was going to think something about you, and now you're afraid because people don't want to actually listen to you and observe what you have to say, when in reality they actually do. And whatchamacallit, you're fucking funny. But yeah, so basically it's about recognizing that like you can do what you want and you don't have to lament about what people think about you in such a way that is going to hinder you from actually acting on certain, you know, situations, right? So with that being said, it is a like it's okay, but it's not necessarily the deepest thing, you know? It's not necessarily the most hindering thing, and recognizing that you can work on it if you so choose, right? So essentially what that is an opportunity for you to just like do what you got to do, make it happen, put in that effort, and actually just put yourself out there in such a way that isn't going to stop you from just feeling all these things, right? So it's approaching the feelings, it's approaching the ideas, it's approaching the ideologies of you just being like, I'm afraid to put out my art because it is a, you know, people are going to say bad things about it. I'm afraid to put out my art because people are going to be mean to me. I'm afraid to put out my art because people are going to, you know, just feel some type of way about what I'm putting out, and I care, right? And I'm learning how to be more of an individual. I'm learning how to be more of a opportunist. I'm learning how to be more of someone who actually cares about these things in a way that is not fearful. It's not being terrified. It's not being afraid to just like put yourself out there and actually apply yourself. Essentially, like just making it happen, right? You know? So it's an interesting thing to deal with because it is cool. You can have a lot of courage, but there is a risk of you being a strong person in a space of lamentation, a strong person in the space of fear, a strong person in the space of regret. And what the Aries full moon is trying to show you is you don't have to do that. You don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be fearful. You don't have to be thinking about the same thing that's holding you back for the past 10 years, you know? So it's kind of like, you know, it's just like, what really is the risk? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what the full moon is showing you. And people are going to be dealing with that in a very stressful way because it's something that they built up in their heads for so long. It's something that they built up in their heads for, like, you know, maybe even a decade, maybe multiple decades, maybe an extensive amount of fear, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. Once we get into the fixed star, that's kind of why I view this as a bit of a scorpionic full moon. But it's sort of like, it's sort of like, you know, what are we doing here, right? Do we want to do this or not? That's basically the energy of the full moon. And once again, it peaks on October 6th at 11:57 p.m. Eastern time. And it is going to push you to think about what you want, to think about how you want to make it happen, right? So yeah, now we're moving on to the fixed star, which is Alpheratz, aka the head of the Andromeda constellation. So let's move on to that. Like, the energy of this full moon is very simple. Once I get into the all signs reading, you'll be like, you know, you'll be actually feeling some type of way about it. You'll be, you know, it'll get more specific. But right now, it's like not that crazy in terms of what it's doing. It's just saying like, hey man, stop overthinking this shit that you know you want to do. That simple. Now, let me show you the fixed star. The fixed star is in the Andromeda constellation. What? Remedies? I have remedies. That's coming next after I talk about the fixed star. You can check the topic in the description. I'm talking about the full moon in Aries. Alrighty. Here we go. So, we are talking about the fixed star known as Alpheratz. Let me flip it around. So, Alpheratz is this star right here. It is the unbound crown of the it's the unbound crown of the Andromeda constellation, right? So the long story of Andromeda is the caged woman that was offered up as a offering to the sea monster Cetus by the king known as Cepheus, because her mom, I was talking about it last night, I forget the constellation's name, because her mom was basically stunting on all of the Nereids, which are kind of like celestial mermaids. And she was saying she's more beautiful than them, and they were like, oh, we don't like you talking shit. And pretty much the king Cepheus was like, dang, my wife has too much of an ego, and I gotta save the kingdom. I guess I gotta give up my daughter, right? And the daughter was Andromeda, right? So you can see her little chains right here. She's chained up as an offering to the sea monster Cetus. And essentially, she is just kind of like stuck between a rock and a hard place because she put herself out there and was used as an offering and is now just kind of like stuck there being like, damn, I really wish I was born to other parents, because her mom is basically a hoe and her dad is essentially a kingdom like, or a king that was a ruler of, you know, XYZ, and he had to protect his kingdom for XYZ reasons, right? So with that being said, it is like, you know, Andromeda's kind of just shit out of luck, and Alpheratz is the star symboling her ideas, right? So it's just like, you can look at it from an energetic standpoint as the lamentations that you didn't ask for, right? So it's kind of like, you can look at it as like, well, you know, that's kind of the cards you were dealt. So are you really going to let it stop you? Like, that's the energy that this full moon is asking of you. And it's kind of trying to show you that it doesn't have to be what you think. It doesn't have to be like so doom and gloom. It doesn't have to be so like, yeah, you know, you're kind of like shit out of luck, but like, it doesn't have to be the be all end all of you feeling held back in some way, shape, or form, and that just being it. You know, like, you don't have to lament, you don't have to fear, you don't have to be in a state of being that essentially blocks you from the opportunities that life is offering you. And also, you don't have to burn any bridges while you're doing that as well, you know? So it's like, it's not bad, it's just like the universe is kind of like lighting a fire up under your ass and being like, let's get on with it, you know? You can either keep lamenting and be convinced and double down with that, or we can, you know, sack up here and actually chase our dreams, chase our goals, and make that happen, you know? Like, that's kind of what we're dealing with. Why the new moon, or the same reason the moon affects the tides, right? Like, we're like 70% water. So the gravitational pull of the moon influences us in that way. It pulls our emotional state and controls our emotional state, because emotions are water. That's why. Now we're moving on to the shadow sides and remedies before we get into the whoop wop. Okay, let's get into the remedies. So, the remedies that we're working with is we are dealing with the shadow side and the issues that we're dealing with. Everybody double tap the screen. Thank you for everybody spamming that like button. We are dealing with impulsivity. We are dealing with solo hero loops. We are dealing with anger as an armor, right? So out of all of those, please comment what you feel you have, and then I'm going to start talking about the remedies. For me personally, I have an Aries moon, so I deal with all of this. But yeah. So when it comes to impulsivity, the remedy is 1 sleep cycle before major moves. If it still rings true, proceed, right? So it's just like, if you're psyched on something, or you're feeling blocked and you don't know what to do, and you have an opportunity or a question or something you can deal with, sleep on it. That's literally it. Just take a sleep. If you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm still psyched and I want to do this, there you go. It rings true. You know what I'm saying? Now, the next thing is solo hero loops. This is that lone wolf energy. It's that remedy. The remedy to that is name 1 ally, 1 ask, 1 person you can deal with right now, and actually understand that independence partners with independence, you know? That's a big thing right there. I got some banging blueberries. So yeah, that's basically saying that, like, just because you're in an individual doesn't mean you can't partner and you can't work with someone collectively towards a unified goal and achieve something and not be an individual, you know? Like, you can maintain your individuality. So, pretty much, yeah, go stretch. That's how to stretch. We're going to be getting into the readings soon. Pretty sure y'all got it in the 9th house, so you, like, most Leos are just, you know, not thinking like dickheads and have something new to inspire them. But, yeah, basically it's like recognizing that you can have a partnership with somebody who is equally as individualistic as you, and you can just find, like, a joint skill set and essentially just utilize that joint skill set to create a greater goal together. Because it's like, you're good at this, I'm good at this, we both know the scope of work. If we come together, it's kind of like that Bulgarian horse energy, where alone, each Bulgarian horse pulls 10,000 pounds. And then, like, you know, together they somehow pull 36,000 pounds due to the power of momentum. Nobody knows. The math ain't mathin'. But yeah, so stuff like that. If you're from India, you may be using a different astrology, and the full moon may be influencing you at a different time. So no, it's really not that different. But yeah, and then the final thing, for anger as an armor, the remedy to that is stating the need, not the story. Aries acts, Alpheratz refines, right? Like, this is what people don't understand about regret and lamentation. Regret and lamentation is a thing that you do that is a specific version of overthinking. So, if you are overthinking, you can always just turn off your mind and not think. Very often, what I tell people when they're overthinking is, if your mind ain't doing shit for you, don't use it. Did you know that was an option? More often than not, you don't. So that's kind of like what I like to tell people, where it's just like, you know, if your mind ain't doing nothing, turn it off. Stop thinking. Turning off is impossible? Yeah, keep telling yourself that and have fun with your anxiety. Haha. There are many ways to turn off your mind. There's a lot of specific Kundalini breathing exercises. Just being able to commit to your breath. Basically, it's all breathing exercises, but there's a lot of things you can do. You know, having more important things to do, that'll turn off your mind. A lot of people don't have more important things to do, and they're just like using it for fun scrolling. Not my fault you do that. Yeah. Are you talking to me or Rinky? Because I don't know what that is. But yeah, anger is an armor. Very common for Aries. But it like, you know, it's like using any emotion as an armor, really. It's just common for Aries, really. That's pretty much all it is. Like, you can feel some type of way, you can do some type of things, but it's not necessarily like, you know, just recognize it, you know? Recognize that you have a specific emotional pattern. If you want to map it in the body, there's ways to map it in the body. If you want to release it in some way, oh, that's cool. Yeah, you should definitely look that up. It'll probably help you not think so much. I'm telling you, man, you don't need to think that much. But yeah. Anyways, anger is an armor. There's really no difference. It's just an emotion that you're attached to that you use as a crutch. The trick to not use it is don't. And it sounds complicated, but it's not. Figuring out how to undo it is the complication that got you in that place at the beginning, right? It's literally just do something else. The answer to most things or most habits is replacing it with another habit that can get you what you want, right? Because what people... I saw this quote about discipline recently, and discipline is more or less like... This is important for Aries because Aries are impulsive. But, whatchamacallit, discipline is basically remembering what you wanted, right? And sticking to that. And that's pretty much all it is, you know? So, keep that in mind whenever you got to work towards something. Yeah. Now, moving on to the all signs reading, let's start with Aries, the homie of all homies to this full moon. If you want to ask me something about a specific chart, get a reading. I typically just do it to my all signs readings, and I don't really like answer people's charts like live because I don't want to calculate it and I don't want to do it for free. So yeah, there's pretty much that. But if you have just a general question, I'm happy to answer it. Now, moving on to Aries. So Aries in the first house is dealing with a sense of identity ignition. What I will say for all of these readings is that you so if you are a 15-degree Aries ascendant, this would technically be in your 12th house, right? So pay attention to that 14-degree mark and double check your houses. Now, 14 degrees of Aries, people have after that for the first house, you're getting an identity ignition, right? So reintroduce yourself with one bold boundary and a kinder tone. Ship something small tonight, right? So essentially, whatchamacallit? Essentially what it is an opportunity for, essentially what it is just an opportunity for you to like recognize that like you can be you can set boundaries, and you don't got to be a dick. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just put something out there. You don't have to be mean right away. You don't have to be nasty to someone to assert your boundaries in some way, shape, or form. So essentially what it is like just a simple recognition that like, yes, you're changing. Yes, you feel inspired, but you don't have to be aggressive about it. You don't have to be so, forthcoming with your annoyance of certain things, right? Because you weren't strong enough to set a boundary in the past, basically. So with that being said, it's whatchamacallit? Yo, you out here being, at least you recognized I was American. Usually you're too stupid to notice. Whatchamacallit? But anyways, Aries is pretty much just like, hey man, I don't know what that is. I don't study yoga, dude. I do astrology. Right, back to Aries. But yeah, so pretty much Aries is just recognizing that you can like have a boundary and get things done and not be annoying about it. That's pretty much it. Now, moving on to Taurus. Taurus is dealing with this in the 12th house. So they're adding on a layer of private courage, if that makes any sense. Taurus has been going through this energy of not really having anything to do, not really like, I don't know, they've just been chilling out and like kind of like being lazy, right? And, to caveat this, I've seen a lot of people have been getting mad at me and saying Tauruses have been lazy. One, they were probably considering their sun sign and not the reading being on their rising sign. Two, you can be lazy by ignoring your desires. You can be lazy by ignoring your abilities. You can be lazy by keeping yourself busy with busy work and not having any mental drain or exertion whatsoever, right? So keep that in mind, because Taurus isn't as, like, you can distract yourself with work. You can be lazy with work. You can do nothing with work, Choose wisely. Ugh, I haven't had Mineralwasser since Germany. What a vibe. But yeah, so pretty much that's it, right? Now, with this coming of courage, energy, and kind of being like private courage, they have to end a secret drain. They have to rest and learn how to use rest as a strategic weapon, and learn the cycle of dream, design, then document, right? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I believe in the States we have coined the term locking in and having a quote-unquote lock-in season. But, ain't nothing new under the sun. You know how that goes. But yeah, so essentially Taurus is just dealing with this, like, they're basically being intentional for the first time in a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty much all it is. Now, when we move on to Gemini ascendants, once again, all of these readings are, I'm doing a reading based on after 14 degrees. So if your ascendant is either below 14 degrees, then you would want to listen to the reading for the previous sign. Now, Gemini. Gemini is dealing with a future on fire. So they're pitching a lot of the initiative. They're aligning with bylaws, roles, revenue splits, network receipts. And Gemini is really just having a lot of opportunity with having Aries in the 11th house by being seen as a point person, being seen as a person of inspiration, and basically asserting, like, what people need, right? So if you're a Gemini ascendant and you're like, you know, working at a startup and you're dealing with a business owner or something, you are being seen as the popular person in that room who has the good ideas, the skills, and the necessary framework to apply what it is they want to certain situations and experiences. So when it comes to that Gemini energy, basically just use that inspiration to your advantage, right? Like I was saying, figure out optimizations for somebody, figure out optimizations for yourself, create opportunities for yourself. If you're working with a business owner, make it happen. If you're working with someone on any project, make it happen. If you're understanding, like, I don't know, like one of the nuances of this is, as much as when people are inspired to do something and they don't necessarily understand what's going on or why they're inspired, they typically kind of just create something and pull it out of their ass without any, like, you know, paperwork or, you know, agreements, right? So when it comes to the agreements that we're dealing with for Geminis with this full moon, Geminis are kind of like being real rulesy and real nitpicky from the jump before they're like placing their conditions before like it's even necessary, right? Like they don't even know if it's going to work and they're just like placing their conditions in such a way to where they can actually just be like, yeah, I'll do this for this, right? And it's like such a light flowing natural thing, which that's the only thing that I find odd about this part of the reading, because it's just like so casual how Geminis are just going to be putting out their like specific requests for what it is they're putting out, and it's just like, bro, how are you like doing this in this way? You know what I'm saying? Like it's just that like weird little thing of just like, really, like how are you just so casual with like putting that out? You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what I'm, it's just it's weird. That's just how I feel about that. But anyways, moving on to Cancer. Cancer, oh man, we've been talking about this. Okay. Now, Cancer. Cancer is dealing with this in the 10th house. So it's kind of like a public torch. Making measured statements. Reputation grows where results live. And post method, not mood, right? So there's a lot going on here. Basically, Cancer is being seen as important. They're getting highlighted in their area of status and expertise. And they are also in a space of opportunity. They're in a space of pleasure. They're in a space of leadership, whether they want it or not, right? So when it comes to Cancer, they're being decisive. They're being logical. They're kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't. And they're recognizing that, you know, discipline outpaces, you know, ethics. Discipline outpaces luck. Discipline outpaces talent any time of the day, right? Which is very weird, because right now Jupiter is in their sign and it's expanding pretty much them, their intuition, their opportunity, their creative endeavors, right? And people aren't necessarily recognizing that, like, Cancer is a bit more, I would say Cancer is a bit more, I guess you could say, insightful right now, and rather than, you know, intuitive or lucky, which I find interesting. So yeah, I mean, once again, that's hyper dependent on what you're actually doing with it, so we'll see how that goes. Now, moving on to Leo. Leo, right? Leo is dealing with this in the 9th house, right? So they're having a whole inspiration, vibey, hee ha ha moment where they are, you know, essentially having a new philosophy that they're living under, right? So what you could look at this is you know, having a bit of doctrine with daring energies, publishing your principle, booking a trip or maybe even a training, and understanding that, like, you know, if you can teach what you can footnote, you can make a lot of shit happen, right? Like, you know, I know Stretch was saying he's super, oh my God, that's wild. Stretch was saying he's super inspired. And then Beans, you know, you're like, you know, you're having a strong streak of monetization recently, which is hype. So essentially what it is like, do whatever you're inspired by, but add a little bit of scheduling to it, right? And kind of like see what sticks, right? Like just basic, really basic market testing for Leos, right? Because y'all are kind of coming out of your Virgo season slump of where everybody's just like, 12th house, 12th house, 12th house, nothing's going on. So yeah, it's kind of like figuring out what sticks and doubling down, right? But what I also will say for Leos is that they are, how do I say? Leos are in a space where they, like, how do I say this? You kind of just got out of a slump and you're figuring out what works, and a lot of opportunities are coming to you, but the trap is that you need to find one to stick to and actually stick to it, because a lot of the problems that you may have had in the past, the opportunities are supposed to absolve, but the point is to create something that's sustainable, you know? So it's like, you're going to want to sustain it, you're going to want to utilize it, you're going to want to make it happen. But you know, like, come on, man. Like, you gotta like, just because things are good now doesn't mean they weren't shitty for the past 2 years, you know what I'm saying? And beans, like, when I'm saying that, I'm specifically thinking of you. So you're right when you're saying you're feeling called out, because it's like, you know, for lack of a better term, shit wasn't monetized like this last month. Yeah. This is the Leo reading is always roasting beans. Just accept it. But yeah, so that's pretty much it, right? So basically, like, recognize that the opportunity you have is an opportunity to create something sustainable. But you know, just it's kind of like a remember where you came from type of vibe. That's what it is. And it's always like this every Leo season, right? Because it's just like right when you get out of Virgo season, it's like, I'm dipping my head above water, you know? And it's not like that annoying time. But yeah, anyways. Yeah, you'll figure it out. You'll see what hits. I mean, you got references. Now, Virgo. Virgo is dealing with the 8th house, right? Yeah, troll away. Virgo is... So Virgo's dealing with the 8th house, right? The 8th house is essentially power knots untie, calm specificity with money, data, intimacy, and consent is queen. So when it comes to this energy for Virgo, essentially what it, like, Virgo is really obvious with this, because it's all about lamentation. What does Virgo do? Virgo gets stressed. Virgo laments. Virgo definitely regrets. So essentially what we have going on with Virgo is recognizing that, like, you need specificity, you need intention, you need, you know, to identify what it is you're afraid of and stop, like, you know, proselytizing yourself out for, like, being able to identify efficiencies and workloads with things, right? So it's essentially a, you know, it's just like, when I say power knots untie, it's all in a Virgo's head. So it's just kind of like they're just being, you know, farts in the wind, just being dickheads. And it's kind of like all of this worries you have is in your mind. And when you release that and you actually put the consistency and focus into what it is you're actually working on instead of working on things for other people, you know, maybe life will shine on a little bit. One could only hope. So with that being said, it's an interesting time, right? So yeah, just keep that in mind, because Virgos are, they're dealing with a little bit of shaky in terms of, like, waking up from the nonsense they're dealing with. Now, moving on to Libras. Moving on to Libras. Yeah. And you don't have to. Now, Libras are dealing with this in the 7th house. So contracts are care. Name needs clearly. Negotiate a repair path. And don't make it a performance. So when we're dealing with the Libra energy, Libra is having, ironically, a lot more individuality and precision within their relationships, right? So they're going to be calling shit out. And with this energy of Andromeda, they're learning how to call shit out with an element of kindness, right? Except Libra was always kind. They're just backhanded periodically. So when we talk about the energy of Libra in this way, we have to recognize that these Libras are learning how to set their boundaries with clarity and precision that removes all of the backhanded, subtle, performative natures that they typically do, right? Which is weird because it's like, why are you putting in so much energy and lack of individuality into relationships? Like, it's kind of weird. It doesn't really make sense. But basically, they're gonna like feel a spry nature to basically calm down the you know, the sassiness, the passive aggressiveness, the backhandedness, where they are you know, not doing shit, for lack of a better term. So yeah, they're gonna be moving up, moving on, and expanding themselves in that way, and being like, you know, maybe I can be a little bit more precise and save myself some time. Maybe. Now, moving on to Scorpio. Okay, Scorpio is dealing with Aries in the 6th house, and they have discipline with heat, right? So it's upgrade tools, upgrade rituals, and one protocol ends 5 frictions, right? Why do Scorpio cheat, especially men? I wouldn't say that's necessarily the case. I would say that's something you're attracting. But yeah, anyways, Scorpios are dealing with discipline, heat. Basically, like, what Scorpio ascendants are dealing with is they're understanding that they are moving towards a space of optimization. And they're just kind of like they're gonna be getting a little frustrated with work and being like, you know, like, why am I doing all this shit that doesn't accomplish anything, you know? Like, for example, in my link in bio tool, my link in bio tool has an AI feature that scans like all the videos that I post and tells me basically which one converts to the most amount of clicks or sales or leads, right? And like, it literally just came out, so I've been playing with it, and I've just been like, oh, okay, this works, this doesn't, this works, this doesn't, this works, this doesn't. It really speeds up like the analysis of that, right? Essentially, Scorpio is going to be doing that for whatever it is they are working on, whatever it is they are dealing with, whatever it is they are expressing in some way, shape, or form, right? So it's just like, damn, you know, like maybe you're I don't know, you're like a mechanic that works on one specific make of car, right? And then you're like, oh, well, you know, why do I need all of these excess tools? Or why am I, you know, doing all of this excess work? We're like, we'll say this for example. It's like, why are you, as the head mechanic who uses an offer to get people in on a cheap oil change, and then you are the one actually doing the work, right? If you actually sat and thought and analyzed like the traffic that was coming into your shop, maybe you would realize that, you know, other you know, different brands have much more profitable part replacements, right? Because that's where a lot of dealerships and auto shops make money in repairs, right? So if you were like, oh, okay, maybe if instead I advertise like transmission fluid swap and I upcharge them by like 10x, maybe that'll be better, you know? So it's just like little things like that of realizing like, how do I upgrade my tools, rituals, and expectations to actually optimize for the result that I want? And that's where Scorpio's at right now, especially in the 6th house, right? Because you have to think, the 6th house is predominantly a Virgo house, and Scorpio is just, in its higher nature at least, is in hyperfocus and precision. So it's like hyperfocused and analyzed on what results bring it the most excitement. That's what we're doing here. Now, moving on to Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is dealing with this in the 5th house, right? So it's a lot of creative courage. scheduling playtime. It's always fun. And then actually releasing, you know, version 1 or their MVP of whatever it is they're dealing with, right? And understanding that joy becomes a pipeline when repeated, and understanding what is joyful to you, what is experiential to you, and what actually gives you that like pure excitement when you talk about something, right? When we talk about pure excitement and the fifth house is your solar plexus. So it's right here on your body. And if you want to understand how charts work on your body, it's basically kind of like this, right? Of where your chart is breaking down over the body. You can understand how to feel all these things within, so on and so forth, right? But in this case, we go, you know, like first house, second house, or no, it would be second house goes to here. Second house, third house, fourth house, fifth house, your solar plexus, right? So for Sagittariuses, they typically have Aries right here in their stomach, right? And one of the things that you like to talk about when we're dealing with the first house is that foods create moods. And when we're dealing with the energy of the fifth house, you want to double down as a Sagittarius to identify what foods create the most inspiration for you, you know? So, for example, blueberries are blue. They are dealing with a lot of pure focus, a little energy boost, a lot of clear communication, right? This is why when we have a dissertation at the Oval Office, the color is typically a deep royal blue. Why? Because they want to actually put out the energy of serious, logical, and respected communication. So when we have that, what do you want to do, Sagittarius, when it comes to your fifth house? Aries probably want to eat a red apple, maybe even an orange. I don't know, whatever you feel tasty at the time. So that's a little tidbit to basically control the vibe or control the frequency of what it is you're dealing with in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Sagittarius. Capricorn. Okay, Capricorn is dealing with this in the fourth house. And once again, if you are curious about adapting your astrological chart to your body, this is called the solar map. I believe Bean has posted a link to it, but it's in the description somewhere. You can get this little chart. I'll break it down for you, send it over. I also do custom guided meditations on that, which are fun. Now, when we're dealing with Capricorn, we're dealing with the hearth of leadership. Well, that was generic. Essentially what's going on with Capricorn is they're setting a family policy with gentle backbone, right? So security before visibility. Essentially what we have going on with Capricorn and the fourth house Aries is like Capricorns, straight up, they have probably been like providing for their family in some way, shape, or form, most likely financially. And they are kind of tired of it, right? So they're just like, you know, you want me to pay some bills, but yeah, I can't stay on your ass about scheduling and pay bills. So if you want me to keep being the cash cow of this situation, perhaps you could get off my ass, you know? So that's pretty much what we're dealing with when it comes to Capricorn energy, of where they're just setting stern, focus, not necessarily mean, but subtle energies to express what's going on in regards to their family, right? Their family's been relying on them for too long. Their family's been doing too much for too long, and they're just not feeling it. So this is why they're kind of setting these boundaries now and really just like laying claim to like, I don't need this anymore. You have just been relying on me. I thought it was going to be impermanent at the time, and now you are still relying on me. So like, what do we got going on here? You know what I'm saying? That's the energy of what we're dealing with. Now, when we move on to Aquarius, Aquarius is having Aries in the 3rd house. So they're dealing with an energy of sacred speech in some way, shape, or form. So when it comes to Aquarius, sacred speech is short, direct, and compassionate. As compassionate as you can be, Aquarius. I ain't judging. I'm just saying. So when it comes to that Aquarian energy with short, direct, compassionate speech, you have to understand that your words are the middleware, right? People understand the energy you're pushing out. People understand the energy you're expressing. And it can't be the be-all, end-all of what you're going to put out into this world. So when we're dealing with that Aquarian energy, you have to recognize that, like, your words are powerful. People hear what you mean, and you're going to have an added expression onto that. So, yeah. Oh, that's pretty much it for Aquarius. I don't know, that was really short and sweet. Now, Pisces. Pisces is dealing with this in the 2nd house. So, when it comes to Pisces, Pisces is dealing with pricing the promise, appraising their excitement, appraising their intuition, and rewriting their worth as a script, right? So invest where devotion compounds. Invest where people actually resonate with you, Pisces. Invest where people actually see you as an individual, or they see you as someone that is valuable, and they see your skills and your intuitive guidance and understanding of what you have going on, right? So that's where it comes to pricing the promise, doing valuations on what people expect of you. And as much as, you may want to make this more spiritual than it actually is, pricing the promise and what that means to an individual, or me at least, is understanding the value that someone can offer, the value that someone sees in you, right? So that's kind of what we're dealing with here, what we have going on. It's an opportunity. It's cool. But also you have to understand the value of what's going on here. So keep that in mind. And that is pretty much it for all of the readings. If you guys want to hang out or say what's up and really just like ask me to double back on certain readings, I can hang out for a little bit. Let me know what's going on. That's funny. Oh yeah, I do have guided journaling prompts for this full moon. If anybody wants to hear that, I can also list that off. Oh, yeah, I'll list them off. Let me write that down. Yeah, I just write a lot of random lists, and I'm just like, oh, maybe people want to hear about this. Okay, so when we are dealing with journaling prompts, so one of the things you can ask is, which chain is self-chosen, and what sentence frees me without burning bridges? So if we think about the chains, we're thinking about Andromeda, right? We're thinking about the Andromedan agency. We're thinking about Andromedan, vibes. We're thinking about Andromedan just energies in general, right? So when we think about Andromeda in that way, essentially what we're dealing with is, where did you stumble into some expectation that you have to hold back in this way for some reason or another? Where, And ask yourself, which chain is self-chosen? Now, the next one is, what would my bravest kind version of conversation sound like? A lot of that is, if you're dealing with something you've been building up in your head, like, you're not thinking straight, right? So literally prompting yourself in that way can kind of absolve that in a way, and like being like, once you do like the actual exercise of like
writing it down and expressing yourself, blah, 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 blah. That is, you know, it kind of removes the programming that you're kind of just running with in your subconscious in some way, shape, or form. Now, the third one is, where does joy return if I move first and edit later, right? Because that's like that Aries energy of just go, 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 just express, just do it, we'll figure it out later, right? And then the fourth one is, what 7-day ritual proves my courage is sustainable, right? And if you are curious, I also have a 7-day free trial, which is linked right here in my description and on my channel page, to my school, community, and course platform that is all in one app where we all interact on just the alignments in general and like keep everybody accountable for our manifestations and whatnot. So if that interests you, try it out, because we have a lot of stuff coming, and I'm currently working on the course that explains for you how to look at your chart and identify where your career is best aligned. And essentially what that course does is it helps you break down your first, 6th, and 10th house lord, basically showing you where your personality fits best, where your work ethic mostly aligns, and then where your, you know, generic career house mostly aligns, and matching all that up into what your purpose is. So that's pretty much the course that I'm working on right now. Typically those readings would run you anywhere from like $100 to $200 if you go to a professional astrologer. And basically, if you do it within the time of the free trial, it would basically be free, and you would already know how to do it. So yeah, and then also in my courses, what I do is I put a lot of homework. So like, for example, in my astrocartography course, I give you like step-by-step homework of it's just like, once you pull your chart, post it, see what lines intuitively align to you, and then you post it publicly in the thing. Yeah, you can find your career. I mean, it's not like you're gonna do all that math and like just be like an actuary. You're going to do all that and like understand like personality traits, but a much more specific version of like the Myers-Briggs test that kind of aligns you with variation of things. That's kind of what we're dealing with here. But anyways, how that homework works is like you do a couple steps, you post it, you talk about it, people go, yeah, you know, people go, oh, that's cool, and they comment their own opinions of, oh, wow, I didn't know this is a good area for you. You're going to Nairobi? Cool, you know, like shit like that. But yeah, if you want to sign up and check it out and get access to that, click the link. It's here. It's here. Beans will also post it. And yeah, you know, check it out. Anybody else got any questions? Quiznos? Oh man, remember Quiznos? I think that chain died. L chain. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's the bottom link right here, the Alchemist Laboratory. Yeah, what the Quiznos was like Subway for pizza. And then it got replaced by like Mod Pizza and was superior quality. Yeah, thank you very much. Check it out. Once again, 7-day free trial. If you don't join your vial. Oh yeah, that makes sense. The best soup bowls. That makes me think of the things from Panera. Let me check on my other thing. What else I got going on? Here, I'll show you for that other app that my homie made. I'll show you all the upgrades that have been happening. Then you'll want to go check it out. Homie been working hard. Alrighty. So yeah. Yeah, you can do that. That'd be cool. So yeah, this is this app that me and my homie have been working on. So yeah, this is called Cinesoma. It combines like body astrology and stuff. It basically asks you like a lot of daily check-ins. One of the new features here is you can like basically see the alignments and all that stuff. Or you want to see about the body mapping? Yeah. So essentially, this will kind of explain it right here where it says, what is the emotion code? Where it basically explains all of this, and how you specifically do it is you do this thing called muscle testing. So you kind of like ask you basically pull up like, if you look up the emotional codes, you'll pull up like a list of emotions. And basically what you do is, yo, what's up, Malo? Basically what you do is you do this thing called muscle testing. So it's just like, I feel anger right now. No, right? And it's just like, or it's like, I feel curiosity for creating and working on my business. Yes, right? So it's like, you just do these quick little things called muscle testing, and it's kind of like an electrical pulse signal that goes through your body. And basically what it is you just ask like yes, no questions to the universe. And if it's true, you get a yes. And if it's not true, you get a no. And it's just like, keep it to yes, no questions, and don't get like super hyper specific. Or no, you can get hyper specific. Just make sure it's a yes, no question, and you test it with like an instant without you actually thinking about it, right? So it's just, you know, it's your intuition doing it. So when you do that, you can go through your body and you're just like, I feel happy. Yes. I feel joy. Yes. I feel deep anguish. No, you know, and it's like you test that out and then you plug it into the little app thing, and then it combines that with astrology to show you where you have trapped emotions within your body, and then you can do clearing exercises once you like learn that, and so on and so forth, right? And you process it. So yeah, that's how you do it. And then it'll show you where it is in your body as like a visual integration thing. And then yeah, so it's like basically if you check like all of these out, it'll pretty much like explain it to you. Where you do like your little quick start guide and you do your first little body mapping and stuff like that. So if you check that out, it'll kind of explain how to do that there. And then you can also do things like, this is my daily check-in. Oh, okay. So yeah, so right now for me, it's like highlighting the earth angles and all that stuff in my body. So then I can pop up over here and I can kind of just like check out what I got going on. Gives you little practices and all that stuff. And then if you click over here on this little heart, it'll offer you a daily check-in where it's like, how are you feeling? Physical comfort, 9. Pain level, 1. Body awareness, 8. Energy level, I'm pretty high energy right now. Fatigue, 0. Vitality, solid 8. Emotions, stability, 8. Stress, 2. Emotional awareness, 7. You know? And then you do this little thing, you complete your daily check-in. And then it kind of tracks that in order for it to essentially tune its like automatic suggestions to you. So yeah. Then it'll tune these suggestions and basically suggest what you should do. So yeah, check it out. App me and my homie will work on. I'll probably be sending out some messages or some emails today in regards to it. But yeah, that's about it for me, guys. I'll catch you later.